foxhole in, I guess, right?
Well,
or that was the foxhole one.
That was the foxhole one.
All right, welcome everybody out there. Boy, hey, this is, what is this? April. I forgot what it was. April 27th. Man, the month is almost over. We got, hey, Rich with us tonight. He reminded me it was the end of the month. You know, we got a CQ segment tonight. Man, time is flying. It'll be May here real soon. I wish we were having ham vention, but we're not. But, hey, things are starting to get better. Hey, if you're listening out there on international shortwave on WBCQ 7490 kilohertz, send us an email and let us know where you are. Tell us how you're hearing the station. And this show is ham radio. It's amateur radio. And if you have internet where you are, this show is actually live on Tuesday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/W5KUB. And if you're out there listening, of course, you're listening on Thursday between 5 and 7 p.m. Eastern Time on 7490. We welcome you. 40-meter net tonight, not too many check-ins. The band was a lot better. No static, noise level was low. Maybe next week we'll have a little bit better participation. I need everybody to do this for me, if you will. Hit your subscribe button on the YouTube there. Hit subscribe, because subscribe really helps us. The more subscriptions we get on our channel, it helps to elevate our rankings, and it helps to promote our show. And you know, as you circle that come to the show from just looking at other videos, they see us there and they join us. All right, we're going to give away a prize tonight. Katie's going to do that, and it's going to be another illuminated ham radio call plaque, I think. Got a special guest tonight. Paul Daniels is with us, VK0PD. He's down in KC Station, Antarctica. So that's going to be fun. Oh, we got so much to do. It was a little confusing tonight. We got the whole group here with us tonight, man. It was really interesting here before the show, but we're going to bring it to you. Let's see. Echo here too. Somebody said he had an echo? I bet that took care of it right there. All right.
Well, they just don't need to know that you're in a big stadium with 60,000 people watching.
The stadium is big here. Actually, I'm outside, guys. You know, I mean, I'm outside, and we've got this big bowl thing behind us where they do concerts. That's what's happening here. Yeah. All right. So, all right. Let's just get started here, because we got a lot to cover tonight. Boy, I even got so many things I want to talk about. I don't think there's going to be time tonight to talk about it. I really don't. So, hey, let's first say hello. Looks like Katie's up first. I see her there. Let's just say hi to Katie. Katie, how you doing?
Doing great, Tom. Hi, everybody. Glad to be back home. Had a terrific vacation down in Florida, and got to see Ricardo KV4OP and share the SpaceX launch with he and Daisy, his wife, and his mom. We had a great time. It was a great way to celebrate Dwayne's birthday. And after 10 days of wonderful weather, it's nice to be back in Wyoming, which is turning green. So, but I'm excited about tonight's show and looking forward to hearing from Paul tonight. So really glad you could join us, and we'll talk with Rich here shortly about what's happening with CQ.
All right.
That's about it.
Cool. All right, who's next out there? Let's find Glenn. Glenn, are you there, Glenn?
I'm here.
There he is. What are you doing now besides having to work?
I'm on the back side of the stadium.
Yeah. How you doing, Glenn?
Oh, hanging in there.
All right.
Just finished my first week as a new Amazonian in their IT department.
Yeah, I feel so sorry for you having to work now, man.
Oh man,
Yeah,
it's tough. And hey, the peak season's fixing to come up, and they're going to have me out there packing your packages for you.
All right.
But,
well, I want a discount.
You're on your own there.
All right, Alan. Hey, Alan, come here and tell us what's new up in New Jersey.
All righty. Hey, good evening, everybody from New Jersey. Not too much new going on here. You may notice the background here. Today is Morse Code Day because it's Samuel Morse's birthday. But not too much going on. Actually expecting some really warm weather here. We got sent to Florida weather up here, Katie. We're supposed to get into the mid-80s tomorrow. So my dog won't like it, but hey, it is what it is. But anyway, that's what we got going on here. I'm really interested to hear what's going on and the South Pole there with we're at Antarctica with Paul later on here. So I actually got my KC4 AAA QSL card here from 1999. That's
I was just thinking today. I've been a ham 57 years, and I think I've only worked Antarctica maybe one time, maybe two. I probably have a card, but isn't that something? I mean, place must be real rare down there.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, it must be rare.
I've never gotten it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see, Rich. How you doing tonight, man? I see, Rich. Rich, I see you still haven't got a haircut yet.
That's correct. And I've got some people telling me I need to, like my mom, who I got to go see for the first time in 2 years.
Oh wow,
a week
man!
Ago. And but then there's other people particularly people with a lot less hair, who say that out of respect for their inability to grow it, that I should keep it. So we'll see where it ends up.
I think that's a good point there. Yeah. Oh man. Well, okay. All right, let's just kick this thing off. Katie, come on in here, and you've known Rich for a long time. Katie, didn't you used to work some with CQ at one time?
I did, yeah. Rich and I hung out at a couple of ham fests together also at the beginning. So, yeah, I've known Rich even before I worked. Back when I worked at ARRL, we got to know each other. So it's been a long time. So, back when he didn't have long hair.
I was just going to say, back when I had short hair, yeah.
I think I did too. It was kind of short and spiky and multiple colors. So, yeah.
Huh.
Well, anyway, it's the end of the month, so of course that means it's time for our CQ segment. We get to talk with Rich Moseson, W2VU, of the editor-in-chief extraordinaire of CQ Magazine, who lets us know what's happening and what's coming up in the next episode, the next issue of CQ. I can't believe we're already talking about the May issue. So what's coming up, Rich? Let's hear some good stuff.
All sorts of great stuff. First of all, though, I noticed on your Facebook page today that there seem to be a bunch of people out there who think that we are all digital.
Yeah.
I'll let you know that we do still have a print issue, and it's still out there every month. And so that we have both print and digital, and plan to continue that way
Great.
for at least the foreseeable future. In the May issue, we've got all sorts of cool stuff. We start out with the Ham Radio Hunger Games. This is a cool story about a net in Florida who members got together to help each other and their family members, friends, and neighbors schedule appointments for COVID vaccines. A lot of people were having a lot of trouble with it and with dealing with the computers and the internet, especially older folks, and they were having a lot of trouble scheduling appointments. So these guys all got together and coordinated through their net on 40 meters who they were managing to get appointments for and when, and it was a very, very cool thing they did. Our main topic for this issue, of course, is the CW results of the CQ Worldwide DX contest last November. Once again, record number of participants, record number of logs. We're going to see if that continues as the pandemic winds down and people manage to get out and go other places again and do other things. But we had, let's see, how many? Over 9,100 logs submitted for the CW weekend of the CQ Worldwide, and a very similar number for the single sideband weekend. We've also got 3 antenna articles, one of which is our CQ Classic for the month, which is a 2-band antenna with low impedance feed. And the interesting thing about this article is less the topic of it than the author, who is Gene Black, W2ESO, who was later the editor of CQ for a while, and his main contribution to CQ's history was bringing George Jacobs, W3ASK, on board as propagation editor, and George held that job for over 50 years before retiring from it. Our other antenna articles, a little more recent, W1IS and KC1DSQ, who are frequent contributors, have a new design for an off-center fed dipole for 43.6 meters, and a really cool idea from a couple of hams in India, VU2KPJ and VU2XQ, on a hammock Yagi for HF. It's a it's not rotatable. It's a wire Yagi, and it's basically set up like a hammock would be. Let me see if I can get the camera in there. And then just suspended between trees. Very, very cool idea. Getting into our columns, WA2NDM and Maths Notes has some simple test equipment for experimenters, so the stuff you can build yourself. For shortwave listeners out there, Listening Post editor Jerry Dexter reports on the passing of Bob Big Signal Brown, KW3F. He was one of the guiding lights of the North American Shortwave Association, and founded the SWL Net, which was on Sunday mornings, 40 meters for a very long time. Our emergency communications editor, N8BHL, has another one of his surveys of this time with a lot of emergency managers to look at the ongoing role of amateur radio in emergency response these days. K0OV, homing in editor, has an article about amateur radio direction finding, or ARDF, making a big comeback this year, which we're all looking forward to, since the international championships and the U.S. championships last year had to be canceled. K0NEB, in his kit building column, has a look at the DX Engineering noise loop QRM sniffer that can work well with the amateur radio direction finding, because one of the main reasons for learning how to do direction finding is to sniff out QRM and track it down. Our digital editor, N2IRZ, gets a little bit off track of digital, and his title is Playing with the Solar System. And what he's talking about is solar power, and doing alternative power on a hobby scale and budget. So that's a very interesting article. Wayne Yoshida, KH6WZ, and Ham Notebook, writes about makers, youth, and ham radio, and reports on the virtual ham expo last month. That was a very interesting show once again. Our new VHF Plus editor, N4DTF, takes us back to basics with a column on making the most of your technician class license. And, a lot of people get their ham licenses and they think that all there is out there are repeaters and FM. And there's a lot of places, not a whole lot of activity on repeaters and FM. But there's a whole lot you can do with a technician license across the VHF, UHF spectrum, and quite a bit on HF as well. So Trent covers all that in his column this month. Our awards editor, KI4KWR, has a cool award called WUST, Worked U.S. Territories, which is really, really interesting. And contesting editor N3QE writes about the debut of a new category in the WPX contest called multi-distributed. This is something that kind of blossomed with the pandemic, but was already on its way to being developed, which is having multiple stations all operating under the same call sign. Basically, you can, so that everybody could operate from home stations, all within the same country and zone. That's the only restriction on it. But you can all operate on a multi-operator distributed basis. You don't all have to be in the same place at the same time, and you don't have to do remote operating to linking to operate from a single station. You can operate a bunch of different stations in a bunch of different locations and enter in this multi-distributed category. I think we're going to see a lot of growth in that area. And finally, our propagation editor, NW7US, talks about the month of May bringing sporadic e-propagation to HF as well as VHF. And we got a preview of that a couple of weeks ago with some great 6-meter openings all over the U.S. and even some trans-equatorial propagation down to South America with some sporadic E hops up into the midsection of the country, which usually doesn't get to take advantage of TEP.
Yeah, I saw people posting on Facebook about it. Like, I think I saw Craigie N3KN posted something about, like, I just decided to sit down on the radio and all of a sudden, boom, this, crazy opening just happened on 6. She was, it was pretty exciting. I'm like, darn it, I wish I was home. 6, but it's getting closer to that time of year for 6 meters.
Yeah. That's why they call it the Magic Band.
Absolutely.
So, it's still my favorite band of all. So that's basically a look at what's coming up in May. We still have our Spring Fever subscription special going on. If you want to check out our website at www.cq-amateur-radio.com and take advantage of the special offers on both print and digital subscriptions. And yes, print and digital. We do still have print. And that's about it.
That sounds great. Well, thank you so much, Rich. And I know you kind of zipped through it fast so we could get to Paul tonight. Everybody's chomping at the bit to hear what he has to say down there. But sounds like another great issue. And thank you so much, as always, for supporting the show. And we appreciate CQ's partnership and help. And you, of course, joining us every month. It's always fun to catch up and hear about what's happening. And it was nice to see your pictures on Facebook when getting to see your mom. So it's always it's been nice to see people are having the chance to start reconnecting again. And it's definitely good for all of our mental wellness.
Yeah, we've been talking. I talk to her every day, and we do a once-a-week Skype call. Yep. But there's really nothing like being together in person.
Absolutely. For sure. Well, thank you again, and I guess we'll see you in a month or so. Yep. Gosh. And obviously, as always, you're always free to and welcome to hang out with us and be part of the Peanut Gallery.
Rich, are you going to be at Huntsville? That's the next Ham Fest it will be at. Are you going to be there?
We are watching and waiting at this point. We would love to be there, and because of course we're involved with the Young Ham of the Year award, and we're just kind of still in a wait and see mode.
I think it's going to be a good one. We'll see you there. I think you'll make it.
Hope so.
Thank you. Hey, Katie, you want to let's do this, Katie. You want to tell them about the prize we're going to give out?
And
then we'll take just a quick break while everybody's hitting the enter key, and then we'll come back and we'll give the prize away. So go ahead and tell them what we got here.
All right. Let me get centered up here. So this is a custom designed, laser engraved call sign plaque with your call sign and name. And it also lights up, which is super cool. This is donated by Allen Laser Creations, Joe Allen, KC0FWG, who also happens to be our son, has a new business and wanted to get a little promotion out there and let everybody know about it. And also, so he makes call sign plaques as well as other things. But so this is week 3 of his donations to W5KUB and the Amateur Radio Roundtable. So everybody who's in the chat room, while we're taking a break, if you would at least pop in the chat, say hello, something, just so we can see you in a participant list, and we will randomly pick one of you for winning that. And then Joe, who's located in Fargo, will get working right away on creating your new call sign plaque and We'll happily send that out to you.
So if we got anybody that doesn't really understand what Katie said, just say hi and hit the enter key, say something, because the YouTube chat room does not show you're here unless you're chatting. So go ahead and say something, and that'll populate the list. We'll have everybody's name, and then Hambot.
There we go. Yeah, I'm seeing it starting to show up. Okay.
Hambot is in Wyoming this week with Katie, so we'll see what Hambot does here.
Perfect.
So, all right, we'll be back in just a minute. The great outdoors are calling. Get outside and under the stars with one of ICOM's ultimate SDR transceivers. The IC705 is a perfect transceiver for hams who enjoy both the great indoors and the outdoors. It's a perfect QRP companion. The base station has features and functionality at the tip of your fingers and a portable package. And it covers HF 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. And guess what? It weighs in at just under 2 pounds. It has a 4.3-inch touchscreen, and it's got a live band scope and waterfall. It'll run 5 watts with a BP272 or 10 watts on 13.8 volts DC. It runs all modes, including D-Star. The speaker microphone comes standard. The perfect accessory for the 705 is the LC192 backpack. It has a special compartment for your IC705 and room for all your accessories. Create your own band opening with the IC9700. This transceiver radio brings direct sampling to the UHF VHF weak signal world. This all-mode transceiver is loaded with innovative features that are just sure to keep you busy. It has a 4.3-inch color touchscreen and spectrum scope and waterfall. It has smooth satellite operation with 99 satellite channels, and it's full duplex operation in satellite mode. Heard it, worked it, and logged it with ICOM 7300. It's a high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design that will far exceed your expectations. This innovative HF transistor digitizes the RF before various receiver stages to reduce the generated inherent noise in different IF stages. The IC7300 is the radio that changed the way of entry-level HF. Visit www.icomamerica/amateur for more information on ICOM radios.
LDG Electronics provides state-of-the-art antenna tuners for every amateur need. From QRP to QRO, fixed stations, portable and remote, an LDG tuner will match your radio to your antenna using our lightning-fast, proprietary tuning algorithms. LDG is a family-owned and operated company dedicated to bringing innovative, quality products to the amateur market. All LDG products carry a full 2-year warranty that is fully transferable. Support is only a phone call or email away. We're always here to help you. Visit us on the web at ldgelectronics.com.
All right, we are back. I think Katie knows Hambot has picked somebody. I don't know who it is. Katie, do you want to type in the chat room?
Yeah, it's going to be, tonight is KD5PUR. Andy, you are the winner
Andy
tonight.
won, huh? Cool. Wow. KD5PUR won the ham radio call plaque. Cool. Congratulations, Andy.
Thank you for playing. And I do have, I'll add in, okay, so again, I'll plug in the chat box, but AlanLaserCreations.com. And for anybody who's interested from the show, if you put in, there's a coupon code. It's WY7YL-20. You get 20% off of one of the items. He's got things like...
What if I type in WY7YL-50?
He'll just ignore you.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, yeah.
And
I'll add that in the chat room. So, again, thank you to Joe, KC0FWG, and my daughter-in-law, Christy, for donating these plaques. And hopefully, and I know John's got his already, KC7DRI. He was our first winner and is enjoying that. So, we got that right out. So, thanks for playing, and we'll do this again. I won't be here next week because I have to, well, actually, I might be. I might just be a few minutes late. I have to go to our local city council for work, but otherwise we'll have our last one next week.
All right. Now, I just want everybody to know we're going to give away one more call plaque, right?
Yeah.
Either next week or the week after. So, look, guys, there's only one more free one coming out there. I want everybody in the chat room to go ahead and order one because you're probably not going to win it. Only one person's going to win. So
Yep.
all you other people, just go ahead and order it there. Katie gave you the website, so go ahead and support them, man. All right. Hey, let's jump over. Let's jump over and go to our guest tonight, and that will be Paul Daniels VK0PD, I guess. Or do you have another call? Hey, come in here, Paul. Say hello. It's Paul.
Hey, g'day, Tom. G'day, everyone. Can you hear me?
There he is, right there. Now, is your call VK0PD? That's your call, right?
Yeah, so VK0PD, VK0 is the Australian Antarctic call. So VK0PD is my call down here, and back home I'm VK2PD, PAD. So, yeah, unfortunately there's no more two-letter calls back in New South Wales where I live, so I had to add an extra letter in. So I've got all three of my initials rather than two. But, yeah, it's fantastic to be down here and great to be on the show. So hello to everyone out there.
Yeah, man, we're so happy to have you tonight, and we will we're going to have a lot of questions for you. All of us. I've got a list of questions so long here. Wow. Hey, you know, I was so glad when I found you, and you said that you would love to come on a show, and I think it's just neat. We don't have too many guests from remote places like where you are, and you're really remote, right? I mean, there's nobody in the next town that you can go over and see, is there?
No, Tom, no towns down here. So where I am, Casey Station, the closest thing to us is I don't know, 500 kilometers away to the next. I think it's a Chinese base. So yeah, a long way away from everything.
Oh wow, man. Okay, I don't know where to start. Just hey. Okay, first question. I don't know where to start. First of all, tell us how we're communicating tonight. I think we're using some type of satellite link, and it's working very well.
Yeah. So our internet here is served up by a satellite. I've heard rumours that they want to run a fibre cable down here, but that's never going to happen. No. I don't know who's come up with that idea.
No.
But yeah, a fair bit of delay in the satellite, but it does work, so it's not too bad.
Yeah. I can't see. I was in telecom business for like 35 years, and there's no way they're going to run a fiber cable down to you. That's a big place down there, you know. Oh man. Hey, so what do you guys do for power? Do you have solar? Do you have gasoline, petro, LP? What do you do to get power down there and heat?
So our main source of power, we have two powerhouses, a main powerhouse and an emergency powerhouse. So in the main powerhouse, we've got 4 diesel generators, and they can deliver about 170 kilowatts each. And in the backup powerhouse, emergency powerhouse, we have 2 generators that I think can do about 250 kilowatts each. We also have 30 kilowatts of solar on here, but obviously solar down here through the winter is pointless. The sun's too low, and the solar energy is very, very low, so it does nothing for us. But in the summertime, it's a good benefit. But yeah, mostly diesel generators is what we run off. So,
but there are months during the year that people can't get to you. Is that right? I mean, that no one can get to you, or you can't leave. How do you have enough fuel to last?
Well, yeah, pretty much the sort of middle of March to the end of October, we're cut off from the rest of the world. But we keep in stock about 1 million litres of what they call special Antarctic blend diesel. So they add an additive to it so it doesn't go all like jelly and freeze. And yeah, we've got plenty of that, and we've got 2 big fuel farms, so you've got a separate supply in case something goes wrong. So it's pretty well thought out and pretty safe. Wow.
Well, okay. So we're going to get to ham radio in just a few minutes, but this is just really exciting talking to you. So you say you're March through October, you're cut off from everybody. You can't leave. No one can come there. You can't leave. Is that right?
Yeah. So at sort of after March, the sea ice gets too thick and extends too far out for any icebreakers to get to us. And the air temp is too low to get planes to fly there. Engines and wings freeze up. So it's a very, very difficult proposal to get here. I have heard of emergencies where they've got a plane in McMurdo and then done intracontinental flights across to here somehow. But they can take weeks to line up a weather window.
Well,
so yeah, we're pretty much covered.
My question was, if you have to have your appendix out, what's going to happen, man? You got somebody there that can take your appendix?
They're there, right? How many people are there with you, Paul?
At the moment, Kate, around about 100 in summertime.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know you're in trouble when you open up the first aid kit and there's a mirror and a scalpel.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Well, it has happened. A doctor here did have to remove their own appendix a long time ago.
Is that right? A doctor actually removed his own appendix there?
Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't think it was at our base, but it was one of the Antarctic stations.
Well, you know, I wish we had our astronaut friend Doug Wheelock with us, because he went through some of the same training you did. He had to become the doctor on the space station, and they sent him to a hospital to learn all these things. And I guess they do the same thing with you, right? You get medical training.
Yeah, so not all of us do. I didn't get it this time, but yeah, we'll have a select group of about 4 tradespeople or four other people on station who'll go and get 2 weeks of training in the Royal Hobart Hospital. So it's a bit of a scary thought.
Katie, 1961, April 29th, 1961.
What happened? What happened?
So Dwayne just looked it up. He said it was April 29th of 1961 that surgery occurred.
Oh,
it was a Russian doctor.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Google.
I just saw that in the chat room. They said Russian guy. So hey, people. I
thought there was a more recent one about 5-6 years ago.
People are really researching and getting into this interview here. Wow. Was it? They said his name was Rambo. Did you say? Yeah, you're kidding. You're kidding.
Yes,
that was Glenn. You can't trust anything Glenn says.
That was Glenn. Okay. So
hey, I saw it on the internet. It's real.
So Paul. So man, you're isolated down here. You don't have any visitors to come see you guys. No one. You're just kind of alone down here. How long have you been there, and how much longer are you staying, Paul?
So I got the option to start late this year. I've got a family at home, and I've got like a 2-year-old baby. I'm not quite 2 yet, so I wanted to have Christmas with him. So I got down here at the start of February, and I'll probably be here till next February. So yeah, it's very isolated. Luckily, we do have the satellite connection back home, so we can keep in touch with everyone back home. But yeah, we're locked off. You're on your own down here if anything goes wrong.
Oh wow, man!
So what is it that your profession is that brought you down there?
So I've got 2 trades. I'm a industrial electrician, so I do a lot of automation and that sort of workload. And I've also held a trade as an instrument electrician, so do all level and flow measurements and that. But it was a really random way that I found out about work down here. I had a friend who was in charge of the Bureau of Meteorology in Australia, so they do all their weather forecasting, and we were talking about scuba diving, and he knew some people down here, so they offered to put my resume in because I'm heavily into diving back home. I do a lot of cave diving and deep ocean stuff, and I didn't get the job. You need to be a commercial diver now, but once I found out there was work down here, I started Googling and applied and got a job down here in 2015. So this is my 3rd time back.
Is this your third trip there?
Yep, 3rd trip.
Wow. You must really like it down there. Do you guys have like a movie theater or something you can go to and watch movies at night? Yeah,
we've got our own little cinema. We've got a small gymnasium.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite good.
Well, very good, man. You're going to need something because, hey, well, let's talk a minute about ham radio, and I'm sure we're going to get back to a lot of other questions too. But so, like Al and I were just mentioning, I mean, that's a pretty rare place down there to talk to. I've talked to him one time. Do you make a lot of contacts? Do you hear the U.S. much from down there? And tell us about your antenna. I don't think you have just a great antenna down there, do you?
Yeah, well, it's very busy on the radio down here. It's extremely popular. I never in my wildest dreams fathomed how popular I'd be. And I get on the radio most weekends for a couple of hours, and I usually get off the radio because I just have a brain meltdown Once the Japanese stations start coming in late afternoon, you get hundreds of stations at once, and you cannot pick call signs out. It just exhausts your brain mentally. So, yeah, I do about 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day on the weekends. And I'm running a inverted V fan dipole, so I can do 40 meters, 30 meters, 20 meters, and 17. And that's the kind of antenna I run at home, and I run on soda trips. So I do a lot of soda activations back home, and I just found fan dipoles to be a really versatile antenna that covers all the bands you pretty much want to do.
I think I have a picture of your dipole. Let me see if I can find it here. Well, no, that's part of it right there. Isn't that part of your antenna, right?
Yeah, so the thing I do here, because we get such big storms, we get like 80 to 100 knot winds, I take the antenna down before the storm. And this area here where we're looking at right now doesn't usually get heavy snow accumulation. So I laid my fan dipole down there before the storm hit and weighted it down with rocks. And when I came back the next day, in places it was 6 feet under snow. So it took me 3 days to dig it out.
So you got 6 feet. You got 6 feet of snow on top of your antenna. Wow.
Yeah, in one night.
Man.
And it's all compacted down. It's you really struggle to dig it.
Yeah. So let's see. I got a picture. I think your radio and your operation here. I think this is it right here. Oh, that's not it. That's not. Here we go. Here we go. This is the ham shack, I think.
Yeah, that was so initially when I got here, I was searching for places to operate from, and just throwing antennas up all over and trying to find somewhere with no interference. And this is what we call our hobby hut, where the people who aren't tradespeople in the summertime can go and do little projects, and they've got tools. So I didn't have an entry for the cable, so I just brought the cable through the window, and I ran there from about 2 weeks' time. So it worked quite well. I'm in a different part of that building now, on a better setup. And that's it there. Yep. So I've got a proper cable entry now, and I've got the linear amplifier running, and it's quite good. It stays at about 18 degrees Celsius, which I'll just have a look up. I'm not really sure with my conversions here. About 65 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's quite a comfortable temperature in there.
That's fairly warm there. Okay.
Yeah.
So in this room, different hobbies, maybe some, well, would it be hobbies like woodworking or anything like that? There are no trees down here. There's no lumber, right?
No, people bring everything with them to do their own hobbies. Like you sort of have an idea and they plan ahead. So yeah, that's where they mostly do all their woodwork. They got little saws and everything in there. Yeah,
okay. Let's see. I've just got a few pictures, random pictures here. Let me just circle through some and you tell us what they are.
Righto. So that's looking down. If you look on my QSL cards or most of the photos of Casey, there's a big sign with everywhere, like pointing at all the different destinations on Earth. So that's looking from the sign back, and that red building on the left is where we live, like our living quarters. And you can see in the middle there my squid pole standing up behind my shack. So that's I have to take that down, obviously, every time we get wind because it's too fragile, but it's broken a few times now. But that's the end of that row of buildings you can see of containers is where I operate from.
Okay.
That's a beautiful spot.
I see snow. I mean, I'm not sure what I'm looking at.
So that's where those the photos of those antennas you showed before. That's what it looks like normally, like really light snow. And I just lay things down, and they just pull straight out of the ground. Out of the snow. It's not hard. But, yeah.
Well, you got some nice tracked vehicles there to get around, go sightseeing in.
Yeah, we've got they're the Haglunds. I think they're a Canadian vehicle, which you can't buy anymore. We haven't been able to get for a long time, so we maintain those. We've got 4 of them here for general use, and then there's another 2 for emergencies. So they're quite good to get around and quite comfortable. A little bit tight, but they do the trick.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. There's people in the chat room wanting to know when you're going to have your next schedule or skid on HF. That would be very difficult to say, but I guess, do you have Facebook down there? Are you on any of the Facebook groups?
I'm on a few, but for my skeds, I've got my own little blog site, VK2PAD.com.
Okay.
And I just post all my skeds up there. But obviously, just people need to appreciate too that, like, if I put a sked up that I'm going to operate the next day, the weather can turn violent and I can't get out. So, I try to keep everyone updated.
So I would like to invite you, if you have the time, to join our Facebook group. We have 12,000 hams in our Facebook group, and it's just W5KUB. Join that, and people can actually, after watching you here, they can actually communicate there easily with you through Facebook. And there's so many people that want to make a contact with you.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that, Tom.
Okay.
I saw an interesting question in the chat room from John AC8XU. He's asking, how do you ground your station?
You ice it.
Yeah,
I just don't bother.
Yeah, I figured. But.
Well,
the ground conditions here are just terrible. So even if I drove big ground rods in, you'd achieve nothing.
It wouldn't do anything.
Yeah. Well, you know, you could drive your ground rod in and put a lot of salt around it, but then that might melt. That might start to melt down there, and you don't want that, right? Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, like, there's zero moisture in the soil. It's all ice. So there's nothing to really conduct. The ground conductivity here is terrible.
So you say there's zero moisture, huh?
Yeah, it is a desert here.
I didn't realize that. I thought it's just ice, water, ice. I thought that would be, but I'm learning something.
You get a bit of water in the summertime when it melts, but what happens is that water melts into the ground, freezes, shatters all the rock in the ground, and just does it over thousands of years. So we've got this earth that's devoid of anything really good. So it's just all broken up rock. There's no soil. And in the wintertime, it's frozen solid, so there's no conductivity there.
So, Paul, do you guys melt snow for drinking water?
We've got a lake out the back that fills with snow in the summertime and melts and then freezes. And what we do with that is we lower what we call a melt bell, which is a big copper bell, into that lake in the summer. Okay. And then we pump hot water through that bell in the winter to melt the ice around it. And then we suck that water out and reuse that water.
Okay. All right.
We're limited on water.
Very unique living conditions down there. It looks like the land is very flat. I don't see a lot of hills around your place there.
Yeah, looking even at the on VK2PAD.com, looks like that was, I guess, taken during the summertime because you actually could see some land.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does melt out in the summertime. It is rather flat here at Casey. We've got the glacier behind us, which most of my photos never show, and that's kilometres thick, but it's just a gradual incline, so it's not very obvious. And being wide, it doesn't stand out.
Yeah, I wonder. Like I said, I don't think I've ever worked your station down there. I'm sure I haven't, but the only time I've ever worked Antarctica was this KC4 AAA down in Adamson, Scott, which I guess is just outside the actual South Pole at 90 degrees south. But that's what's just the unique thing about this card. Latitude is 90 degrees south. So longitude, yes, right. It's whatever direction you happen to be pointing.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. At one point, every direction is north. You could get lost.
Right. Yeah. Well, one interesting thing that I thought I want to compare it to where you are in Casey Station. It says the altitude down at Adamson, Scott was 9,500 feet, but the ice thickness was 9,300 feet. So it's like 9,200 feet of ice and then 200 foot of land above sea level. So I don't know what it's like where you are, but it's but I guess you're probably not quite that high.
Yeah. Well, Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, we're at 66 degrees south here, Alan. So we're right on the coast. I'd probably be 50 feet above sea level. So not too high up. But I know the center of the continent here is just a big brick of ice.
Right.
Here's a picture, I guess, taken from a drone or something. I guess of your little town, your city, right there. Yep. It kind of looks like where it kind of looks like where Katie lives. She lives in Wyoming. Looks very much like it.
That's a fairly old photo because I can see a lot of buildings that aren't there.
That aren't there now. But, yeah. Here's a here's a video. Let's see. Wait a minute. Here's a video of 2 days. Let's see what it looks like. I think this is 48 hours. Let's see what this looks like. I saw some lights coming on and going off. Let's see. Well, I don't know all the lights. Okay. Oh, hey, it's daylight. Look at there. You got some daylight. Got a few clouds coming in. The wind is blowing. Oh, it's changing direction, and it's night again. Wow, man. Yeah. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it'll soon be dark here full time. The days are getting shorter by about 11 or 12 minutes a day now. And so sort of around middle of June will be dark all day long, and we have that for about a month of no sunlight.
Yeah. Hey, I pulled this picture. This is an interesting picture. Now, this is not. I think this is a site located some distance from you. You have better facilities than this, right? I mean, you do have indoor plumbing, right?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
On some of the buildings. A lot of them don't.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's. I'm glad to hear that, man. Let's see.
That could be a very cold read of your CQ magazine.
Whoever built that did not finish the building. They did not finish it. Look at that.
So, Paul, I have a question. Up here, and a lot of people say in the U.S., in the winter time, which could last, like where we are in Wyoming, could last a good, 5 months, and people will get like seasonal affective disorder and get depressed because we don't see much of the sun. But I think about it now, it's like even if it's cloudy, we're still getting some light versus what you're experiencing down there when you like don't have any for a full month. How does that affect everyone down there? Do you have like some of those UV lamps to give you some fake sunlight, or is it just something that you've gotten used to now that you're on your third time down there? It seems like such a drastic change to what we as humans are used to, that it must be something special you have to almost prepare yourself mentally for.
Yeah, definitely. When it starts to get like pretty much from now on, we've got 8 hours of sunlight today, and it's starting to get short now. It starts to bring your mood down a bit. You get tired. It's amazing. Like people always told me before I came down, you'll be really depressed and you get really tired. And I'm not the kind of person who ever gets depressed. So when it started to happen, it was quite amazing that the depression really didn't get bad for me. It was just sort of like some days you don't want to go to work,
right.
But you get home from work at 4:30 in the afternoon and you want to go to bed, like you're ready to sleep, and it really messes with your body clock.
Right.
So it's not fun, but it's just part of what we live with here. So you put up with it.
Well, Paul,
right. So it's really just a month that's is the worst of the time period without the sunlight. So is it like
I'd say
black?
3 months.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah,
So
there's a month of never seeing the sun, and then there's a month of seeing a couple of minutes of the sun.
Oh, wow.
The first day you get the sunrise and it'll just break the horizon for 1 minute, and the next day it'll just break the horizon for 11 minutes.
So, Paul, it's
Wow.
we know it's cold down there, but it's not totally cold, because I have a friend here, Mark Brown, in the chat room. He's from Huntsville, Alabama, where they have the great Huntsville, Alabama Hamfest. But the point I'm going to make is that last year I read where Casey Station had the very same temperature as Huntsville, Alabama did, and they set a record of like 69 degrees. It got 69 degrees there. Have you ever felt it get that warm?
No, I haven't. The hottest it's ever got with me was 5 degrees Celsius, which would have been just under 20 Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
I know they did have a day that was ridiculous, but it rarely gets above 5 degrees Celsius in the summertime.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that happens very often, but it was amazing to see 69 degrees in Antarctica. So, I guess there is some warming down there a little bit. All right, let's see. Yeah. We just had another co-host join us, Bill Brown, from now He's also near Huntsville, Alabama. Let's see. I had some questions here.
Hey, Tom,
Yes.
You caught my attention with Huntsville, Alabama. So I have a question for Paul. I've been working, listening and watching DP0POL in the Neumeyer station. They have a whisper presence on 20 meters and several other bands, actually. And I often can copy them here in the United States. And they've been instrumental in the round the world balloons we've been doing, particularly the ones that are launched from Australia and also Argentina. Sometimes their station picks up that balloon that nobody else can, because there's few and far between ground stations on Whisper. I just wondered if you ever played with the Whisper mode there at your station, and maybe you can try and put that up on the air and help these balloons that go around the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, that's Bill. That's something I've been planning on doing. Putting a Whisper beacon up to run on probably the higher bands. I'm going to have to run two separate antenna systems to do it, and I'd say that I'll probably run a Whisper beacon for sure on 15, 12, 10, and 6 meters. I'm not sure if I'm going to run one on the lower bands. It's a possibility. It just means I need more gear out there to do it. I have played with Whisper in the past. I just haven't got it set up here yet, so it is in the planning stages at the moment, and I'm really interested to use Whisper for when the higher bands open. I really want to try and get a 10 meter and a 6 meter contact from here, so I will have it running. I'm just not sure how long away it's going to be, so hopefully not too far off, and I'll have Whisper up and running here.
All right. So, Paul, are you familiar with the Pico balloons that some people are flying? And we've been flying one now for about a year and a half. It's little small balloons that we send around the world and track with Whisper. Are you familiar with those?
No, I've never heard of them before, Tom. I know people do.
Well, if you join our Facebook group, there's a lot of reading on it, and Bill is instrumental in getting us started in this about 2 years ago. And these are little small balloons that we launch with a little tracker, a little Whisper tracker on them, and they can actually go around the world. In fact, our best flight has been 3.5 times around the world, and then it crashed.
Wow.
We've crashed a lot of them, by the way. But hey, here's my question. Okay, I have a secret. Nobody's listening down there, right? You don't have any boss or anybody in the room listening, do you?
No.
Okay.
No.
Do you have down there, do you have any hydrogen or do you have any helium at your disposal?
I wouldn't say at my disposal, but we do have it. We've got
Okay.
a weather station here where they launch balloons every day.
Okay,
So, yeah,
okay.
definitely.
You need to get buddies, get friends with them. What we need to do, our show needs to put together one of these Pico balloons with the tracker and send it down to you. And you put the right amount of helium in it and launch it for us. And I'd like to see how it. So all of our balloons are above the equator. They fly in the northern hemisphere. I think it'd be interesting to watch one fly launched down in Antarctica. It might just be a slow circle down there. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. I could probably work something out with them.
All right. Now, so are there any customs issues for me to send something to you? How will that work? Do I have to send it to Australia?
Yeah, you'll have to send it to the Australian Antarctic Division, and that'll get passed on to me. So
Okay.
I probably wouldn't see anything until November.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to work on that. We're going to work on getting a show balloon down to you and let you launch it down there. This will be a cool project for us. All right.
Yeah,
Well, very good. All right. There's our next launch, Bill.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat room here. Paul, where do most of your contacts come from? And they're kind of just curious about the propagation for you down there.
Yeah, Glenn, I get a lot of contacts from Australia, obviously, because that's the closest, Australia and New Zealand. Japan's probably my next biggest hotspot. But I have done contacts into the States, into California, Utah, Texas, and even to Alaska. I've made 2 contacts into Alaska. So That's all on 20 meters, and it does get through. But for whatever reason, I don't hear the states nearly as much as I hear everyone else.
Are you running typically? What modes are you typically running? Are you primarily a single sideband phone? You do any CW? And what are the specific portion of the band? I know when KC4 AAA was active, they were always around 14,243. That's where you just looked for them all the time. So I'm wondering if there's a particular spot that you hang out.
Sorry, I've got a million phones ringing here. Go away. I usually operate on 20 meter single sideband. That's my major band at around 14,245.
Okay.
So that's where I spend most of my time. I have had a bit of luck lately on 17 meters. I've never worked that band before, but I've got well into Japan with that in Australia. So, but yeah, 20 meters is the go-to band for me.
Okay, cool. Keep an ear out for you.
So, Paul, when you put your antenna up, how high do you get it above the snow? Are you 30 feet up or 20 feet or?
Yeah, about 30 feet, Tom. That's about as high as I can really safely get it.
I think it would depend on the day of the week and how much snow was last night.
One day it's 30 feet above the snow, and the next day it's only 20 feet above the snow. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, I've heard the snow doesn't really affect the antenna too much, and
Yeah.
I haven't seen any effects from it yet.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I was looking at some more pictures here.
I would actually think.
What is this, Paul? You'd sent me these pictures. I'm not sure. I think you sent me this one. What is this?
That's the start of my fan dipole build down here. So just making it out of bits of old cutting board and some copper strip, and that's just got a.
Okay. Yeah, I see the connector. I see the connector now. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it looked like an old TV transformer. Kind of,
Yeah. Down here, you work with whatever you can get your hands on. So
well, there's probably
that
not
was
much
available
stuff.
to me.
There's probably not much stuff you can get your hands on down there. What are we looking at here?
So that's me building the fan dipole about 2 weeks ago. So I've clamped that center section up, and then I've run all the wires out from there and cable tie them onto some little bits of timber dowel.
I see the fan dipole now, and I see the PVC pipe that you're using for a spreader. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so you work with whatever you can get your hands on.
Well, you would think about it with all that ice, which is just basically water, you'd get a pretty nice ground plane out of all of that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about freshwater ice. I know the saltwater ice would be a really good ground plane, but
yeah,
I've heard you can just lay wires on the glacier and run a wire yagi on the ground. So I don't know how much effect ice has on it.
Yeah. What are we looking at here, Paul? We got two different pictures that look similar.
So, sorry, you're starting to drop out a bit, Tom, but
that's
a view out of my front door. And that's when I say I can't guarantee skeds. That's why, because that's blowing 80 knots there, and you can't see 5 meters.
Oh, okay. So that's your front door, and that's what your front door looks like with the snow and a blizzard. 80 knots of wind. Oh, okay. All right.
You still there, Tom?
I'm here. I'm here. I guess we're having some connection problems. Are you hearing me okay now? Are you
I can only hear bits. That everyone's gone on their morning tea break, so the internet's probably getting hit pretty hard right now. But if you look out past these stairs, there's a flagpole, so you'll have another photo of the next day, and it's amazing how quickly the weather turns here. So quite often I'll advertise a sked and go and operate, and I won't be able to go outside. So it's pretty crazy weather.
Now, can you are you allowed to go out and explore? I mean, can you go walking?
Yeah, definitely. You're not allowed to go alone. You have to have someone with you, and we have to carry a big bag of like survival equipment. But there's big areas here we're allowed to go out and walk around and explore. And there's other, like, we've got little huts in the remote areas as well to go to.
you carry someone with you so you both can get lost. Is that right? I mean, how well?
We've got GPSs and everything.
How well does a compass work down there?
It works fine, but the magnetic variation here is huge.
Yeah.
Back home, magnetic variation from a map is like 5 degrees, and down here it's 103.
Woo! That's way off, isn't it? Oh man. Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, what else we got for Paul here? This is very interesting tonight.
Yeah, Paul, I know that you mentioned, kind of where your expertise is an electrician and instrument engineer. But what's your day-to-day job? What do you do down there? What do they pay you to do? So.
Yeah, Alan. So I'm employed here as the trade supervisor. So I'm in charge of all the trades: the plumbers, the carpenters, and the electricians. So a small portion of my job is running those guys, and most of the time I do all the maintenance and all the fault finding. So we have maintenance by law. We have to do like testing fire systems and all that sort of stuff. And as well as that, if anything breaks, I've got the job to go and fix it. So it's quite a harsh environment to work. Quite often you'll have to work outside, and wearing the thick gloves, you can't do your job. So you'll take your gloves off and you've got a couple of seconds of dexterity, and then your fingers don't work anymore. So you've got to put your gloves back on, try and warm your hands back up, and repeat. And a job that takes 10 minutes back home can take 3 hours here.
I guess it's just in keeping the elements from getting a hold. It kind of reminds me of the movie The Shining. Where you got to spend the winter, keeping the place from nature from taking it over, so that it's ready for the summertime when the crowds come. Right.
Okay. Hey, we have a news.
I do.
We have a news flash. I think Paul is hiding this from us, but we have just been informed that KC Station has a brewery. Do you guys have a brewery?
Yeah,
is that a secret?
Yeah. No, there's no secret about it. That's all our stations. We have our breweries, and it's just home brewed beer. So the guys get down there and they brew a couple of 100 bottles up every month, and that's just free for everyone's station to go and drink whenever they like. So it's not bad. I don't drink, so it doesn't affect me, but it is there for the others.
Oh, wow.
Well, here's another one from the chat room. How well does GPS work down there?
The GPS seems to work fine. I've never had any issues with it, but we don't use it very often. Maybe once a week when we go out into the field. So day to day, it might not be great, but I've never had an issue with the GPS down here.
Hey, do you ever have any thunderstorms? Like lightning, thunder?
No. The only kind of storm we get is like a blizzard.
Yeah.
We don't get rain. We don't get thunder. We don't get lightning. Nothing.
Do you have, I just thought of something, and I don't know, it's kind of silly, but do you have like a traditional 40-hour work week, or because of the logistics of where you are, is it like a traditional work environment where people are working shifts, or how does that actually work down there?
So we, it varies station to station on how people work as well, but we usually do about a 42.5-hour work week. So we do 7:30 in the morning to 4:30 in the afternoon, 5 days a week. And we've also got on-call rosters as well. So I'm a fire chief down here, so I'm in charge of the fire team 1 week in every 3. And so you're on call for that if any fires happen. And also as an electrician on call, we've got pages here. Everything's automated pretty much. So if we get a fault somewhere, we'll get a message on the phone to say, something's failed and you've got to be out the door quickly and go and sort that out before things go bad. So it's not a bad place to work. It's not huge hours, but if you have problems, that can change and it can become huge hours. So it's you do your best to make sure everything's working in tip-top condition every day.
All right. Do you have HBO and Cinemax?
No TV down here at all.
Oh, man.
The internet's been upgraded this year, so we can get like Netflix and that sort of stuff, but pretty much if one person's watching it, no one else can use the internet. So We try to avoid that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
Red's asking, do you get a lot of aurora borealis down there?
Not really. Where we are here, we get an awful lot of cloud cover. So 99% of the time when we've got an aurora happening, we don't see it.
Okay.
But last time when I was at Davis Station, which is probably, 1,000 k's from here, we got regular auroras. So, and I think down here it's the aurora australis, not, I think borealis is the northern hemisphere.
Right,
so,
that's right.
Yeah, but we do get some pretty awesome ones from time to time. It's just not very common here.
Right. Neat. So, someone just asked in the chat room, saw a picture of an ATM receipt from Antarctica. do you have an ATM there? He says that had to be a Photoshop.
No. Well, I think at McMurdo that they do, because McMurdo, the American base down on the Ross Ice Shelf, they've apparently got everything. So I think they do have an ATM there, but we're such a small station. Like McMurdo has 1,100 people in summertime, so they're like 11 times bigger. So yeah, we don't have money down here. You don't use money. Everything's free.
Everything's free. No money. You don't need money. That's fun. Oh man.
Well, it's not like there's a bunch of stores down there.
Yeah.
Goodness. Yeah. Plus, you can't order it because nobody could deliver it.
That's it. Yeah. It's a very good savings plan.
Yeah, I bet.
Wow.
I guess even with being 9 months or whatever where you're really kind of cut off. I mean that in terms of like your store of food, is everything just kind of prepared, frozen? That or I mean, how does that work to feed the 27 people or so that are there for months without getting any supplies in?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've got our own chef down here, so everything. We get our last delivery on the last ship of the season, which usually comes in February, and everything comes in on that, and then it gets frozen, and that's it. That's what we live off for the next 9 months. So no more deliveries, no fresh food. Once the fruit runs out, it's gone. It can be hard, but the chef does a really good job with what they've got.
Things get a little thin around October.
It depends how well they've planned it. Not usually.
Okay.
It kind of reminds me of one of the Three Stooges or the Little Rascals, where they don't have any food and they take the tongue out of a shoe or something. The leather tongue, and they make soup out of it or something.
They run out of popcorn in July, and then I'm just lost.
Yeah. Wow. Well, hey, Paul, this has been very interesting, man. We need to sign you up for the show here and have you on here every couple months, and you bring us some kind of Antarctica project or something. Maybe you make some contacts or something, or you do something.
I can do that.
We'd love to have you on here again soon, and let's do some things like that.
And Paul, if you have access to a tiny amount of helium or hydrogen, we can send you a payload during your summertime, which I believe the first you can get supplies is in November, because then it's solar powered and it would operate 24 hours a day as it flies around Antarctica. So that would be a really,
I'm sure I can make that happen.
project.
Yeah. So make buddies with your helium guy there, and we'll try to do something like that this year.
And it would be a good talk to the meteorologist there, and that would be good meteorology study, because they can track the position of the balloon as it travels around Antarctica. And I really hope that you get on 10 meter and 15 meter Whisper, because I do get on those bands on Whisper, and it'd be awesome to pick up Australia. I mean, your station down there in Antarctica on 10 meter Whisper. And the bands are going to open up soon, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's looking good. So, I'll get on that and get it sorted. And hopefully, we can make a contact sometime too.
Hey, Paul, I know you're taking time off from work for this, so we don't want to, impose too much here. You're welcome to stay with us, But you also mentioned to me, I think yesterday when we talked, that you were going to take an hour off from work or something, and then you could probably, do an hour. So
I can do another 5 or 10 minutes, and then I have to get going.
All right. Well, very good. And hey, please join that Facebook group. I want to stay in contact with you, and I'm really serious about, let's do something for the show, some type project from Antarctica for everybody out here. And they can follow it on the show and follow it on the Facebook group. And, I don't know what it'll be, from balloon launch to maybe just making some contacts or something. I don't know. Anybody got any ideas?
I'd be happy to.
Okay. Anybody else have anything for Paul before we... Let's see if there's any other questions.
Just a comment saying food gets frozen means you just set it outside. I imagine you're probably a little more controlled than that.
Yeah, you definitely can't set it outside. It destroys it. It gets that cold.
Oh, wow.
Some of our freezers actually warm it.
Oh, yeah. Right. So they're asking about your time zone. You're 13 hours ahead of Chicago. So right now...
Yeah, UTC +8.
Yeah. Well, what's the UTC time right now?
It'll be 2:11 UTC.
Yeah, it's going to be about.
Yeah, that's right. That's
UTC
right.
+8.
Yeah, that's right.
AM.
Yeah. Well, our show is on UTC, so that's right. But 13 hours the way I figured out, 13 hours ahead of Chicago. So you're almost exactly half a day opposite of us. Right now it's 9:13 here, so 9:13 at night. So you'd be at 10:13 in the morning there, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10:13 in the morning.
Okay. All right. Okay, guys.
12 hours from us here on the East Coast, so exactly half a day.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, we really appreciate you coming on with us tonight. I'm so glad we hooked up with you, and we're going to stay in contact with you, and we're gonna have fun this year, get you on the show, and we're going to, if you got any ideas about what we can do, Paul, let me know. And also, gang, Katie, Alan, Glenn, everybody, if you got any thoughts about what we can do, Bill, just bring them up. All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much again. I'm going to let you get back to work.
Thank you, Paul.
What was that, Katie?
Oh, I was just saying thank you again. This was a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, thank you. That's really cool.
Yeah.
In more ways than one.
I've got one idea that...
Thanks for having me on the show. It's been a good time.
We could send him a whisper beacon, a low-power whisper beacon that he can put on the air when he's not in the shack.
We could do that.
Yeah.
We could do that, and if he can get an antenna up, sure. We'll try to do that.
Well, it's been awesome to be on the show, and
could we have? Well, let me ask you a question. Could we have a?
Yep.
Could we have a W5KUB/VK beacon? Can we do that?
I guess we could while I'm here. I don't know how to go once I leave.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure we could do it.
I don't know. Okay. Hey, we're going to do something with you. Hey, man, thanks so much. I really enjoyed it. You're welcome to stick around with us as long as you want to, or leave us. Doesn't make a difference, All right.
Yeah, I might take this opportunity to get going before the boys notice I'm not at work.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thanks, man. We enjoyed it.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, everybody. That was Paul Daniels VK0PD. He was at KC Station Antarctica. So that was a fun segment we had with him tonight, and it's opening up doors for the show. It's opening up doors to maybe launch a Pico balloon from Antarctica, maybe put a whisper beacon in Antarctica, maybe set some schedules up from Antarctica, so it's going to open the door.
Of the Earth.
What was that?
It's going to be interesting to see how the wind patterns at that latitude work the balloon around.
Yeah, and we can look at that right now on Ventusky or Windy and see that. Okay, well, very good. All right, Alan, you want to talk about Morse code, I think, tonight, right?
Yeah, I just thought we'd, I know we did a segment a couple of months ago just on CW and operation and did a little bit of the mechanics of CW. But given today is Morse Code Day because it's Samuel Morse's birthday. I just thought maybe we could chat a little bit about maybe some Morse code trivia or something like that. But yeah, what an interesting segment with Paul, though. Like I said, one of my most interesting contacts was with that Edmondson Scott station, but that was in 1999, so that was 20-something years ago. But anyway, I just thought we'd chat a little bit about Morse code, some interesting trivia. Obviously everybody knows Samuel Morse as being the inventor of it, but he had a partner in doing the work with Morse code. Let's see, his name was Alfred Vail, and both actually working in Morristown, New Jersey, at the Speedwell Iron Works in about the 1840s. It's kind of when things kind of got developed there. But what's even more interesting, maybe that a lot of people don't know, is that the Morse code that he developed was actually developed and called American Morse, but it's not what we use on the air. We actually use International Morse, which was actually developed by someone else. It's basically based on Morse code, and a lot of the characters are the same, but not all of them. But the International Morse code was developed by Friedrich Clemens Gerke. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. He was based in Germany. And then that went through a couple of modifications and was finally kind of finalized as the ITU, International Morse Code, in 1865. And that's what we use today is on the air is International Morse Code. But looking at if you look at some of the wiki pages and things like that for Morse, the interesting thing about American Morse is that some of the characters are actually made up of patterns that include very different spacing and different lengths of dits and das. It wasn't just just a dit and a da. There was a couple different lengths of things, and then there was also some letters that had like 3 dits, a space, and another dit. It was a letter, so it was very different than the International Morse code, where every letter is kind of a code group, if you will. So some pretty interesting stuff there. Some interesting things just looking up. I just thought it'd be fun to talk about, the letters SOS, for an international distress call. A lot of people think it actually is an acronym, like for Save Our Souls or Save Our Ships, but the reality it's just a pattern that's recognizable. It doesn't really stand for anything. So I thought that was interesting. I always thought it was Save Our Souls is what I remember hearing, but it actually isn't. It's also
I always thought it was something like that too, or Save Our Ship, I think was something you always think of. So I didn't realize it was just because of the pattern.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure. I mean, that's what I thought it was too. But I'm just doing a little bit of research here online with, and many kind of sites confirmed the fact that it was it's just a pattern that's easily recognizable. And was, because the previous distress call was CQD.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to say that. Yeah.
So, but that, then I guess because SOS was just recognizable and easy, anybody could remember what it was. They just kind of switched to that. So, but it was actually an interesting tie-in to Thomas Edison. He suffered from deafness, and he taught his fiancee Mary Sitwell to learn Morse code, and they actually communicated with each other that way as he lost his hearing. So it was kind of interesting. Another one, and I didn't realize this either, that Johnny Cash was actually a code breaker in Germany when he was in the Air Force. So that was kind of interesting fact there. And this one was really cool. The Colombian Army once made a song with Morse code in it and aired it on a rebel-controlled territory to lift the morale of hostages that were held there. The message read, 19 rescued, you're next, don't lose hope. But it was kind of buried in the chorus of this song. So the people who ran the radio station didn't know they're actually sending a message to the prisoners there. So that was kind of interesting. So, but lots of interesting trivia and facts there. I'm sure I could find some more, but I just thought, I'd bring some of that up. And then we talked a little bit about a couple months ago when we did this about different, the mechanics of sending Morse code. And we talked a bit about using a straight key and using a set of paddles with a keyer, but we didn't really talk about what's called a side swiper or a cootie key or a bug or and things like that. So if there was any questions about that, I thought we could kind of talk a little bit about that too. But anyway, I just wanted to maybe chat a little bit about Morse code because I just thought it was an interesting day, and it's one of those things that, I learned, Morse code originally about 40 years ago the wrong way, right? I learned it by memorizing the dits and das, and it's so hard to break that. And so I've been working pretty hard to try to retrain my brain. So, it's just, to me, I find I'm doing more CW now than ever. And actually just posted a short video on my YouTube page earlier this evening. Just a quick little happy Morse code day message being tapped out on my new QCX Plus kit that I just finished building a few weeks ago. But anyway, I'll just check the chat here to see if anybody else put some more interesting information in. I see some people confirming the Johnny Cash stuff here, intercepting some Russian CW traffic, and the original distress call being CQD. It's funny because I think, obviously in the movie Titanic, they actually properly, the captain properly instructs the wireless operators to send a CQD call and not SOS. But let's see, I got a question here from David. Can I explain some of the shorthand that's used in CW QSOs? And there's actually quite a few. And I'm not sure the origin of them all, but there's a lot of just two-letter abbreviations for things like ES for the word and. It's just a fast thing to send. I'm not sure exactly the origin of that. You'll hear GA or GE or GN for good morning, good afternoon, good evening, that type of thing. You'll hear DE, and that could be a DE could stand for either this is or from. So usually prior to sending your call sign, you send a DE, and that's kind of like saying this is W2AEW, for example. And again, I don't know where a lot of these two-letter things came from, whether they're come from a different language or just come from maybe some abbreviations that were used in the original telegraph operation, things like that. I don't know enough of the history of that, but it's that's that part of it too. Once you learn Morse code and you start listening, it's like, and you start writing stuff. Did I copy that right? What does that mean? But you say, and you hear sometimes now, and something that's interesting that I didn't realize, because I was into CW about 10 years ago. I didn't get back into it again until a couple of years ago. And what I hear a lot more now than I didn't hear then is a quick way of turning the conversation back over to the other station was to send the letters BK. And they just, BK. And then the other guy would send BK and start talking. And like, because BK would be short for back. Because I was used to always sending like a BTU, like back to you, and then back to you. And then you'd send, their call and your call. But just a BK or a real quick way of turning it back over. So it seems like that's something that's become popular over the last decade or so that wasn't popular 10 or 20 years ago. So I think it's probably always evolving a little bit. So, Charlie's asking the QCX transceiver. Unfortunately, Charlie, I didn't do any videos when I was building the QCX because soldering videos aren't that interesting. And I had done some videos on winding toroids before, which was really the only other really interesting piece of building the QCX. I will say that if you're interested in building a kit, the kits from QRP Labs, like the QCX Plus that I have, or the QCX Mini that's out there, plus any others that he has, probably the best documented kits in terms of assembly manuals that you'll find anywhere. And I'm including Heathkit and Elecraft in that list because it really is extremely well done. And just amazing early value too. That QCX kit, if you don't get the enclosure that I have mine in, it's a $55 5-watt CW transceiver. So then as you saw in the video, if you watched it, it actually got a Morse code decoder in it. It's got a built-in keyer. It's really quite an interesting thing. And even with the custom aluminum case that I got with it, it was still just a little over $100. So really kind of interesting. But and I guess another thing we could chat about too is the fact that CW running at 5 watts is literally as efficient as running 100 watts on single sideband. You got to figure you're using 30 times less bandwidth. So you can live with 30 times less power to get the same signal to noise ratio. So, if you a QRP CW station can be very, very effective, and surprisingly effective. I mean, when I first put the kit together, I put it up on the antenna and called CQ a couple of times, and I checked the reverse beacon network, and I was being heard in Washington State and in Vancouver. That's clear across the country from here on, literally about 2.5 to 3 watts. So it really is pretty amazing and kind of a lot of fun. So I'm glad I got this done before heading out on vacation. We're taking a short vacation the end of May. I'm going to bring this rig with me, and then again I'll take another vacation in August, and I'll bring this rig with me then as well.
Alan, when I was studying as a novice and learning code, I had friends, that we would just walk around and we would talk to each other in code. Did you ever do that? You look kind of funny,
No, I mean, how did you just do da da?
Yeah, we just went, da da did to each other, and we would,
yeah, I guess
code it, and we would know what the other one said. I mean, it probably looked very strange, back in the early '60s, but.
Yeah, well, when I was growing, I didn't get my license until I was in high school, and I just got my novice, and like I said, I learned Morse code at 5 words a minute the wrong way, and so unfortunately, I didn't really exercise it that way. But if I'm driving along in the car, sometimes I'll just spell out license plate numbers and things like that in my head, just to kind of keep the patterns going. Yeah. But at least no one hears me.
Another thing about CW, and it was mentioned by Bruce in the chat room, I think, during the Vietnam War, an American prisoner of war actually sent a Morse code message back to the States. The North Vietnamese put these guys on display on TV. They had the whole group there and put them on display. And the American actually, with his eyelids, sent Morse code, the word torture. Yeah. And I guess it was the CIA or whoever on this end, when they saw the video, they picked up on that and, actually read the word torture. So they knew what was going on there. So, if you look at somebody, I guess if your job is military and you're looking for things like that, CIA and whatever, maybe you would notice that. But just looking at somebody blink their eyes, you might not know they're sending Morse code.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I had a couple people ask here in the chat here, what frequency and speed do I send on vacation, Horace? So I will typically operate on either 20 or 40 meters. And if I'm on CW, I'm usually somewhere between maybe like 7.03 and 7.06. And similarly on I'll be a 1403 to 1406 typically is where you'll find me if I'm operating CW. If I'm operating on phone, it's usually the lower portions of 40 meter band if I'm on phone. So, but we'll see. Like I said, the last week of May I'll be out, and then the middle 2 weeks of August I will be out as well.
Now, when I first learned Morse code, I learned it at 5 words a minute, and I got it up a little higher than that. But my uncle, my great uncle, and his friend in Florida, they would have a daily sched, and I was sick for several days and home from school, so I listened to them every morning, and they were transmitting along, and they were going at a pretty good clip. My uncle would go about 20 words a minute, but the other guy would go at 33 words a minute. So I just listened to it, and I would write down whatever letters I would pick up. And at first it was just a few letters out of that because I was still so slow in the code. But after doing that for several days, I started to copy everything that my uncle was sending at 20 words a minute, but I still couldn't pick up the guys going 33 words a minute. It sounded like a cricket chirping. So I finally, after several more days, and I was just getting well, and I finally understood everything he said at 33 words a minute. So I just spent all day listening to all kinds of people all day long on Morse code, and so I got on the air and I sent to my uncle and his friend, and I sent it at 33 words a minute to this other guy who he wouldn't slow down for anybody. And he said QRS. He said, because he couldn't copy me at 33 words a minute. He could dish it out, but he couldn't take it.
That's funny. I remember you mentioned that just a couple of weeks ago, Bill, and I took that to heart because normally I dial around and find somebody that I could hear, and I like somewhere between 12 and 15 words a minute, so I can copy everything and be fine. But I took what you said to heart a couple of weeks ago, and I started listening to some guys at 20, 25, 30 words a minute, and doing just what you said, only picking up the letters I could hear. And I've got one of these little Wolfwave audio processors that does CWD code, and I'd be kind of writing things down, then I'd glance up at that to see if I got things right because it was doing the decode on me. And what I found is that even though I was listening to somebody at 25 words a minute, if I went back to somebody at 20 or 15 that I couldn't really copy before, just that little 5 or 10 minute exercise of listening to it fast, it made the other stuff really click. So I think you're right. I think pushing yourself and just hearing that and just building those pathways is really just what it takes. And it's just, like I said, it's just practice. So I just need to keep working at it.
One of the things
and after a while, I actually now hear words. I don't hear the individual letters. I actually hear the words in my mind.
Yeah,
I think one of the best ways to learn the code is, I did it this way, and I'm like you, Bill. Right now, I can actually hear words, and you also, knowing what they're saying, you can kind of expect what the word's going to be a lot of times. But in learning it and getting my speed up, I recorded, and it was probably cassette tape back then, or it may have been a little bitty reel-to-reel, but I recorded 5-letter random groups of letters and numbers. 5 letters, 5 letters, 5 letters, 5 letters. And I'd record maybe about, a couple hundred of those. And the thing is, you could never memorize that. But you could sit down and turn that tape on, and you could copy those letters, and then you could go back and see which ones you're missing. And again, you couldn't memorize it, but it's easier when a person sends a word. If he says TH, probably the next letter is going to be the. But on random characters, it's not going to be like that. And in that way, if you do random characters, you can actually go through and grade yourself, and you may say there's 5 letters I'm missing all the time. JK, X, Z, whatever. And just practice those 5 letters, so it's real easy to get your speed up.
Yeah, the ones I have problems with are the ones with a lot of repeating dits. Okay, was that an S or an H, or was that an H or a 5? Right? Yeah. Was that a V or a 4? Or was that a B or a 6? So those are the ones that I typically will have more trouble with. And sometimes it's when it comes in a call, right? Was that a W6 something? Or I thought it was a W6, and then the next number was a 6. Oh, that was a B. And then by the time I do that, I lost the rest of his call. So it's those things that you just kind of you just got to train your brain to try to get to. But it's those repeating, especially the ones with the repeating bits, are the ones that are just getting me most of the time. But it's just a matter of practice.
Now it also helps. When I was about 4 or 5, my dad was teaching my sister and I Morse code because he was a radio man in World War II, and so he would send code to us, and so we actually learned Morse code before we could form full sentences. So it actually is a second language to me.
Okay, well, there you go.
Hey, let me make a quick announcement here really quick. If you're out there listening on shortwave 5130 WBCQ, you're listening to Amateur Radio Roundtable. It's a show about ham radio, amateur radio. And we're glad to have you tonight. Send us an email to tom@w5kub.com. Let us know where you are. Give us a signal report. Also, if we've got some new people that just came in the show. If you missed the first half of the show, it was a great show. We had Paul Daniels with us from Antarctica. We had a great discussion with him about Antarctica. all of our shows are recorded, so you can go back later tonight and you can, you know, you can pull up the video and you can watch it again, or you can watch it tomorrow. So everybody hit that subscribe button. We really need to hit the subscribe button. It helps us out a whole lot. Hit the like button. And thank you so much. And back to what were we talking about? CW,
yeah.
Morse code.
Well, my Morse code experience is somewhat similar. Of course, growing up as a novice, I had my speed way up there because you had to get it to 13 words a minute and pass the general in like, what, a year or two.
That's right.
But over the years, I'd let it go away. But when I did the first Arduino book, one of the projects in there was a random code generator, just like you were talking, Tom, with the characters. And just sitting in here, having it on the desk in the background while I was testing it, I noticed that my code speed increased from, 6 or 7 words a minute. That by the end of the testing, I was up to 12 and 13, just by having it in the background.
Yeah, I think just osmosis will do that. Even if you're not concentrating on copying it, just having it on. Because before COVID, when I was out on the road, for work and spending most of my days in the car, sometimes I'd park the radio on, somewhere on 20 or 40 CW, and just with it, just driving around, just copying in my head what I could. But just having it in the background there, I think certainly helped a lot. So, but I try to make it a point to get up here to the shack. A couple of nights a week at least. Even if I'm not putting contacts in the log, I'm just tuning around and listening. And I said lately, I'm kind of following Bill's advice of listening faster than I'm comfortable with, and then dialing back and seeing that I can copy better with some of the other stations. So, but it's still a process. And I've got friends who are so proficient that they could be carrying on a CW conversation with somebody with one hand and talking to me with another completely separate conversation, and literally just using 2 different parts of his brain to make that happen. But I'm nowhere near that at this point yet.
Yeah, and I'll never forget that television segment with Chip Margelli going up against the Texters with his CW key.
Oh, that was on the Tonight Show or something. We've
had Chip on here a few times, and we've also had that video on.
How fast were they sending when they were doing that?
Lightning.
I don't remember. Hey, I saw a video the other day on Facebook. This guy had 2 electronic keys, one in the left hand and one in the right, and he was sending fairly fast with both hands. I need to find that. I mean, it was unbelievable. I need to find that.
No, not happening.
I need to find it.
Why do you think I designed the CW keyboard? You do not want me handling a key.
And I built your keyboard, and it works really great there, man.
Yeah, I've still been doing 90%, 95% of my CW with a straight key. I do have a set of paddles, and I can concentrate and actually use them. But I know that using a straight key is going to limit my sending speed compared to what I could do with a set of paddles. But I guess I'm of the belief that having that pattern kind of ingrained in my fingers is also going to help it in my brain. So,
and actually. My favorite key is the one off your left shoulder in the on the image behind you, the classic J38. That is a wonderful key.
Yeah.
And if you adjust it so that it's if a fly lands on the paddle, and it will go off. If you get it to that point, I can send 30 words a minute on a straight key.
Wow.
Yeah. The nice thing about a straight key is that everybody's got a little lilt or a rhythm to an individual rhythm, and back in the early days of telegraph, people would know who was sending because they recognized the operator, his little rhythm. It was more personalized than the electronic keyers or the
There are a couple of folks that are on 40 meters quite a bit that I could tell who they are because of that little, because it's not so little with some of these guys in terms of how much they exaggerate certain dits and das or whatever. But that key right there over my shoulder is actually a J.W. Bunnell from 1929. So it's as old as my house is.
Hey, and also back when we first got our novice license in the early 60s, you could tell who a person was by the chirp.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you know, I'm really
see.
happy to see there are a lot of new hams. Of course, code is not required anymore. There are a lot of new hams that are wanting to try Morse code, and that's great. I think they should learn it. It's kind of like riding a bicycle. I've never forgot it. I was up, you know, extra class at 20 words a minute. I think now I could probably easily do the 13. I probably couldn't do 20 anymore. But there's a lot of people interested in getting to learn their CW now, and that's great. But like Glenn, you were talking about earlier, we didn't have a choice back when we got our novice license at 5 words a minute. We had 12 months to upgrade to general, and that was, you had to have 13 words a minute. And if you didn't upgrade in 13 months, you couldn't renew your license. It was over with.
Yeah, it was over. One and done.
Yeah.
That upped it to 2 years by the time I got there.
Yeah.
But let me tell you about the straight key that I ran across a couple years back. I guess about 10 years ago. Found it on eBay, and it is a very heavy set Chinese key, and it's really, really nice. I'll have to show it one night, but I mean that. The thing itself must weigh about 2 pounds.
Wow.
It's just that heavy. And so, I mean, you put it on a desk, it's not moving.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. The one that's sitting here, that Bunnell, I picked up at a local, just a local flea market that runs like every weekend here. And I got it for a couple of bucks because the guy didn't really know what it was. And the same place I found an old signal electric spark key from the 19-teens. I've got that one too, but that one's got a bit of a hollow mechanical sound to it when I use it, so it was a little distracting. So I usually use that Bunnell. And then the one I showed you, Bill, a couple weeks ago, that little Vibraplex Camelback. That's the one I did the video on tonight. And that's got a really nice feel to it. The only problem is it's got felt on the bottom, so it tends to skate around on the desk a little bit. So I might peel that felt off and put some adhesive back, like silicone rubber, on it, so it kind of plants itself on the desk and doesn't move.
So here's a code practice oscillator. This is a 1960s model right here.
Oh, look at that.
This is a 1960s model, and you've got your on-off switch. You've got your tone, and you got your volume here. There's a jack on the back for the key, and of course, let me see if I can open this thing.
And the nice thing about
back then they didn't make things like they used to now, but back then, I mean, here's the inside. Of course, the screen protects the speaker. It goes up here, but. Yeah. There it is right there. It's a whole lot in there. I think this was a $99. Oh, hey, look at there. I've got the schematic on there. Look, a little 555 right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the nice thing about that.
What was that? What, Bill?
The nice thing about that, Tom, since it's in a cigar box, it keeps the smoke inside the electronics.
I never lost any smoke with this one right here. But this is a King Edward. Code practice oscillator. Not many people. Well, there's probably a lot of people that had these.
I mean, those were the perfect enclosures back then.
That's right.
That was before Altoids tins.
Yeah.
I got this one here. Was actually as a kit that one of my friends of mine, actually a late friend of mine, W2OU Drew, was a really great Elmer here. Became a silent key last month, but he's involved with a club that was building this little CW practice oscillator with a local group of kids. So I did a video to show how to build this. They used that video to teach the kids how to use this. And it's just a little 2-transistor oscillator, got a speaker kind of on the back of it. And I forget what the whole kit was. They bought a bunch of them for the kids to assemble. So they taught them how to solder. And then the Morse code is kind of written, kind of printed on the back. You have to kind of memorize it because you can't see it when you're sending. But it was a neat little kit that the kids put together. So it was a nice little project.
That is cool. Hey, by the way, I just I checked in with Chip, and he said when he was on Jay Leno, he sent at 29 words per minute, which was 1 minute faster than the world record for the text messaging.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
And with that, I'm going to sign off for the night because Dwayne's getting some hand surgery at dark o'clock in the morning. So we got to be up and out the doors first thing in the morning.
Okay,
so.
well.
All right.
I'll say 73, everybody. I'll see you hopefully next week.
If you can make it next week, even if you're late, we'll take you.
All
Yeah,
right.
I'll probably I might just be a few minutes late, but I
Okay.
expect I'll be here.
Okay, we'll see you later.
All right.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Take care.
All right.
All right. Hey, I want to make this do a little spill here about, we've got a lot of people been waiting for us to launch our W5KUB-27 balloon. It's probably going to be about 10 days from now. I'm waiting on the special 1 mil material to come in. It's already being shipped. I just don't have it yet. And then this next weekend, I've got to go to a college graduation down in Mississippi. So we're probably 10 days, 12 days away from launch, but we really think, in a numbers show, and I've been working with a lot of people, we really think that this balloon will fly at 55,000 feet. We think that's where it's going to fly. And, we're trying to break that ceiling, that 44,000 foot ceiling. About the only thing that for a Pico balloon that's going to fly higher than, that high is the SBS balloon. They're quite expensive, and that's the maximum altitude you're going to get with about 44,000. So we're trying to break that ceiling of 44,000, and we're trying to also come up with a very inexpensive balloon that will break that ceiling. So going to try to reduce the cost and going to try to fly at 55,000. We think it will float at 55,000. And we're going to also, I just found out today, they're shipping me some new special batteries. They're supposed to go down to -50 there for this purpose. So we might put a battery on it to see if we can get some nighttime transmissions with the Dash 27. So, Bill, you've got a few days. I know you're busy with a lot of things, but hopefully we can get the voltage calibration thing solved, because if we fly a battery, I'd sure like to know kind of what the voltages are.
What's the weight of the battery and the capacity of them?
I don't know. They just threw some in the tube with the other material. I'm guessing, I don't know. I won't even guess, but the balloon is going to have a high lifting, capability. So I think it will fall within that very easily and not change the altitude much. So this is that new 1 mil stuff. It's multi-layer. They've tested some of this material. They pressure tested it. It's going to come, and it's a larger circumference. It's coming to me in a tubular form. That last one we launched was I think it was laying flat. It was 44 inches wide. That gave me 88 inch circumference. This is going to be 5 foot wide, which will give me a 10-foot circumference. And getting an extra capacity is what's going to get us the extra feet in the air. You can make the thing as long as you want, and every time you double, triple, quadruple the length, it doesn't go any higher. It just stays the same because the weight keeps going up. So, Bill, if you can help us with that part and make that work, that'll be great. And I'm thinking it's going to fly 55. And guess what? If that one stays up and flies 55, we're going to go 65 to 70. 65 to 70. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take some of these 10-foot circumference and cut them open. We're going to splice them together. Well, we'll have a 20-foot. We'll have a 20-foot circumference, and we found that it looks like the tape really sticks them together good. So we might here this summer have something up in the 65 or 70,000 feet. But first we want to do the 55,000.
The nice thing about that altitude is, particularly during the summer, it'll pretty much hang overhead, maybe go 5 to 10 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That's the zone of the minimum wind field. And so you could put a crossband repeater on it and slow scan television. You could do all kinds of fun stuff with that.
Yeah, as long as we could carry the weight.
A crossband repeater, you can actually make one of those pretty lightweight.
Yeah. That may be something we do in the future. But yeah, I agree with you that the wind speed is going to be practically almost nothing if we get into 55 or 60,000 foot. I think the wind speed's something like 5 knots, whatever that is.
It's gonna be low, so
it's gonna be real low.
It'll take a long time to go around the world, but you could have potentially a long duration as it slowly drifts across the country. You could have, like I say, a simplex repeater even, which that's a lot of fun. You basically talk for 20 seconds, it records it, and then plays it back. And we've done that on some of our larger weather balloons, and we had coverage on 2 meters and 440 from a 12-state area. Basically, we had 2 stations 700 miles apart talking to each other using the balloon as a repeater.
Yeah, I've got a little simplex repeater board in here. It's in a little box about the size of a cigarette package. Actually, it's smaller than that.
Yeah, a Radio Shack.
Yeah, it's a Radio Shack. That's what it was, a Radio Shack.
And that was a really nice one, but repeater. They no longer make that. But Argent Data still makes a simplex repeater module. It's about the same size. And they still have those. And theirs is more capable. You can do some Morse code ID and different features with it. And actually control it via touch tone. So it's a pretty nice little simplex repeater. So all you need is a little small handy talkie and the simplex repeater module, and you've got yourself a repeater in the sky.
Yeah. So under FCC regulations, how do we control it?
Well, you can actually control it through a UHF link. If you had another UHF radio up there, you could control it through that.
And now we're putting another radio up there.
Well, some of these receivers, and maybe Alan can help you with that, there's some really, years ago I had little tiny receiver modules that weighed next to nothing. And so I know there's a number of kits, receiver kits and transmitter kits that are super lightweight.
Well, you got to think it'll work. I mean, you take something as small as this, and it's unbelievable that
and you don't have to.
That'll transmit 9,000 miles. It's just unbelievable, man. I mean,
And you don't have to send up the whole case of a handy talkie. You can remove the case and just use the innards.
Yeah. Okay, we got some things to do then. We got about 6 minutes before we sign off on our shortwave station. We've had fun tonight.
That was an interesting segment earlier with down from the Antarctica, because I said that's one thing I always thought was so interesting on this card that I got from Admonson Scott. That just the altitude and how much it's almost all ice. And then they also lists on the card the temperature range for the Admonson Scott South Pole Station, -5 Fahrenheit to -117 Fahrenheit is the temperature range. So they're not only being another 2,000 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers further south than where we had our visitor tonight, where Paul was, but then also being basically 9,000 foot higher in elevation. The temperatures is that much colder. But that was cool. So I'll definitely have to keep an ear out for him on 20. It sounds like he gets pileups whenever he gets on, but knowing that he's 12 hours different from us, have to keep that in mind too. At least from here on the East Coast, he said it's actually 12 hours exactly different. So we'll have to see. And well, I guess he'll be in permanent gray line for a while, right? Because he's gray line for everybody until probably about the middle of May until June, where it goes to permanent sunset. He's kind of in somebody's gray line anytime during the day, so that's pretty cool.
So the friend of mine who was stationed in Antarctica on the South Pole Station. When it gets down to minus 100 Fahrenheit, he was wearing a jacket called the 300 Club. And I asked him, what's the 300 Club? And he says, well, when it drops down to minus 100, we get in a sauna bath and crank it way up. And when it gets to about 200 degrees, we run out into the minus 100 degree temperature and run around the little barbershop pole and back into the building, having dropped 300 degrees in temperature, and we get to wear this jacket. I wouldn't recommend it for everybody.
No, I wouldn't want to do that. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Well, I remember, I've seen, probably everybody's seen those videos once it gets down like to 40 or 50 below Fahrenheit, or 40 below is both same Fahrenheit and Celsius, but you take a hot cup of coffee and toss it in the air and just vaporizes and goes instantly to just fog before it
and
even
you don't have to go to the South Pole or the North Pole to make that happen. Wyoming, for example.
Yes, right.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool stuff. It looks like Don in the chat room said the last time he heard Paul, the pile up was terrible. So I guess probably have a tough time competing here with just 100 watts and a dipole antenna that's too close to the ground. But at least it'd be interesting to hear him anyway.
Well, that's why we have to set up a secret frequency.
Right.
We don't tell anybody.
It's really amazing how often I hear the German Neumeier station. It's Delta Papa Zero, Papa Oscar Lima. I can hear them on Whisper quite often, and they're not running that much power. And they had a ship that was supply ship coming down to them, and it was DP0POL/MM, and I could copy them on Whisper as well. Wow. So the propagation to the South Pole is actually happens quite a bit.
Nice.
All right, we're at 2 minutes to sign off. Anybody got any last minute things you want to talk about?
I think I'm good, but yeah, it's a great segment, and but I think planning to get to send something down there, maybe in November, December, maybe it's something you can get up in the air before he leaves. I think he said he's leaving in February. But that'd be a fun project. And like I said, if the wind's down there, just kind of keep it over Antarctica, and at least for from December through February, it's kind of in permanent sunshine. You could be solar powered for weeks and not go anywhere. That'd be kind of cool.
Yep. I'm gonna look at here real quick at the wind, and let's see what it looks like for the south. Far Antarctica. Let's see if I can figure out.
It's going to be like a boomerang. You launch it, you just reach out with the hand behind you and catch it.
So we're going to go down. Here we go. Let's see. We're right.
He was a little bit further west than there. I was looking on the map.
I don't even know what I'm looking at.
Yeah, see that where that kind of dark purple spot is?
Right here. Yeah.
That's kind of, but he's from there. He's kind of northwest to the coast, I think, is where I'd seen it, or maybe he's just directly north of that.
Okay,
but he's in that area.
Let's go up to about 45. Let's go up to. There we go. Now we're up to in a high altitude, 40,000, something like that. So let's look and see what it looks like here.
He's kind of on that little thing that's sticking out there, like right underneath. You got to go a little bit closer to the coast there. That little kind of right where it's kind of you got that spot that kind of goes, or kind of almost north, a little peninsula, a little bit east to where you are. It kind of goes north again. Yeah. He's kind of on that northern tip, right in that area, right there. Yeah.
All right. So I'm looking at the wind here, and it looks like it's doing a good circle right here. Let's see. It's hard to tell down here. Well, I don't know. It just all. I think the wind's just really messed up down there, to tell you the truth. It's going all different directions. I guess from down there you can go all different directions at the same time. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know.
All right. I got an early meeting tomorrow.
All right,
I'm going to jump out. So good to see you guys, everybody, tonight, and we'll see you next week.
All right, we'll see you, and it's time to sign off on our shortwave. Thanks everybody out there for listening on WBCQ 7490. We'll see you next week. This is Amateur Radio Roundtable, a show about ham radio. We'll see you. All right.